Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey, welcome back to Daily Dose Radio. This is your crunchy, sweet, and delicious treat every day, 5 minutes a day. That's all we ask. Daily Dose Radio, studying the Psalms verse by verse. Today we're looking at Psalm 18 in verses 13 and 14. We're going slowly through Psalm 18 because it's so important, as I said yesterday, to the Psalter, to the Old Testament, and it has importance in the New Testament as well, and we'll see some of that this week. We're looking at 13 and 14. We're still in the theophany section. David has prayed, and the Lord is answering. He's rousing himself up. We saw him last time raising up, and let me just go back and look at the last 4 verses of 1 through 10, verses 7 through 10. The earth shook and quaked, the foundations of the mountains were shaken, smoke went up from his nostrils, coals were caused to burn by it, he bowed the heavens and came down. And now, yesterday, we saw him pitch his glorious tent in the dark waters. So he's beginning the campaign. The tent has been pitched. He's got his arsenal of hail and coals of fire. Now let's see what happens today in verses 13 and 14. Let me read that for you. The Lord thundered in the heavens, and the Almighty gave his voice, hail and coals of fire. He sent out his arrows, and he scattered them. Great lightnings, and he discomfited them. That's verses 13 and 14. And again, as I said, this is God's activity. It's being demonstrated for us here. He's moving because the psalmist has prayed, in my distress I called on the Lord. And now the very next thing is, from verse 7 now all the way to verse 14, we have this motion of God. He's moving, and the world is upset by it. He has pitched his campaign tent, and now he's thundering. So the volleys have begun. This is the first round of attack. He thundered in the heavens, and the Almighty gave his voice, hail and coals of fire. So in the heavens he thunders, he gives his voice. Of course, that makes us think of what? The thunder of a thunderstorm, lightning. We're going to see lightning here in verse 14. He sent out his arrows and scattered them, great lightnings. So the arrows and the lightnings are parallelisms, and so we know what he means by that. He discomfited them. Now that discomfiture means he takes it apart piece by piece. So I'm not sure if the them here are the them of the enemy or the them of the lightning. But whatever it is, God is taking something apart. And you know what? He can, because he put it together. And he doesn't need, ladies and gentlemen, a map or a guide or a handout to do it. I do. You know, when I piece something together for my house, I always need to look at the instructions, and so rarely I do. I don't understand why that is, but I don't look at the instructions because I think, I can do this. But no, I need instructions. God does not need instructions. He can discomfit anything that he's put together. He fit it together, he can discomfit it. Great lightnings, and he discomfited them. So the Lord begins his attack. The thundering of the guns of heaven, the hail and the coals of fire. And of course, when you read that, we have it twice now. As I said, it's a refrain. But what do you think of? I think of the attack on Egypt. When the Lord thundered against Egypt, he sent hail, and as the hail fell on Egypt, fire ran across the ground. And not only did the hail damage the plants and the animals that were outside, but the fire burned things up. So this is some serious imagery here that David is calling on, the hail and coals of fire that were seen when God delivered the Israelites from the hand of Egypt. And so in delivering David, he does the same thing. And in delivering you, he will do the same thing. He will move heaven and earth to answer your prayer. I hope you'll join me tomorrow. We'll finish the theophany and go back to more of this idea of deliverance here in verses 15 and 16. So join me then on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.